Guidelines, grades 6 through 12.
Welcome! Today we're talking about the CHAMPS Classroom Management Strategies for Guidelines, grades 6 through 12. You can see by this chart that rules and guidelines share some of the same characteristics, but they are also very different. Rules are specific behavior statements that all students are expected to follow. Guidelines go above and beyond as general positive statements about attitudes, traits, and behaviors.
Before we start learning today, I want to review our guidelines so everybody remembers them. You need to be prepared, act
In other words,
responsibly,
guidelines help
show
set the tone
integrity,
for how students should
respect
behave
others'
in order to be
differences,
successful in the
and make
classroom
their best
and in
effort.
life. Traits like
Okay,
politeness,
everyone open up your
sharing,
books to page
respect, and doing
242.
their best. That's why guidelines aren't tied to negative consequences like rules are, but used to encourage and redirect students toward positive behaviors and good choices. You'll want to create a poster with 3 to 5 basic, observable guidelines and post them prominently in your classroom where they can be seen at all times. Any more than 5 guidelines can be confusing. Here are some examples of guidelines for grades 6 through 12. Be prepared. Act responsibly. Show integrity. Respect each other's differences. Make your best effort. All students from grades 6 through 12 benefit from having clear guidelines. Use age-appropriate language and acronyms to develop your guidelines. After you create your guidelines poster, you're also going to create a T-chart that shows what each guideline looks like and sounds like. Let's say you're teaching the guideline Be Prepared. What does Be Prepared look like in your classroom? Being prepared could mean that your students have their homework completed, paper and pencil supplies available, and are ready to learn. What does it sound like? Be prepared could be defined as asking on-topic questions, being able to share relevant information with others, and interacting meaningfully in classroom discussions. Guidelines can change depending on the needs of your students. Watch as this teacher demonstrates.
Before we start learning today, I want to review one of our guidelines. This guideline is Be Prepared, so I want to make sure that everybody is always prepared when they come to school. This means I will see that you have all of your homework completed that I've given you the night before, that you'll have school supplies such as a pencil, paper, pens. You're alert to learn, that means you got a good night's sleep, and you take turns answering questions in class. I will also know that you're prepared to learn if I hear you asking on-topic questions, you have positive and kind interactions with your classmates, you have meaningful discussion about our lessons, and you're open to listen to other people's ideas and opinions. Okay, give me a silent cheer if you can do that today. Excellent. Put your hands down and let's get started learning.
Here's another example. This one ties the guideline of responsibility to the rule of keep all phones off and in your backpack. The students need to know exactly what acting responsibly looks like in order to behave that way. What behaviors demonstrate responsibility? What behaviors don't? What does responsibility look like, sound like? Watch.
We're ready now to take our test. I want to remind you that acting responsibly during the test is keeping your cell phone off and keeping your eyes on your own work. Can I have a volunteer to hand out the papers now? Okay, thank you.
Preemptive responses like the one you've just seen are a great way to guide behavior before a rule is broken, create a teachable moment, avoid giving a consequence, and avoid having a negative interaction with a student. Here's one more guideline T-chart example. Make your best effort. What does this sound like? Look like?
Okay, before we transition into our study groups, I want to remind you what our guideline, Make Your Best Effort, looks like in the study group. I will know that you're making your best effort if I see you sharing information, taking turns, actively participating, and you're each writing up your own study notes. And I will hear that you're making your best effort if you're using a level 2 voice, which means it's a quiet talk, that you're using calm and quiet and kind words, you're staying on topic, we only need to be talking about our lesson, and you're asking meaningful, important questions in your study lab. Okay, I want everybody to raise your right hand if you understand. Excellent, put your hands down.
When deciding which guidelines to use, think about which ones will prevent the most rule breaking in your classroom. Which ones will have the most positive effect? Which ones are most important to you? Sometimes guidelines have been created for the whole school or a specific grade level. In that case, use them in your classroom by defining them for your students in the way we've described here. Students are very adaptable once they know the expectations. And remember, having your students role model your guidelines means they understand them.
Here, let me help you.
And don't forget that you are the best role model for your guidelines and a powerful force in creating and maintaining a positive classroom environment.
Excellent job in the semicolon. That's a really hard one. Okay, everybody, we're going to give them a silent cheer for that. Good work.